Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Sedona Senior Sit Down podcast series with Maggie Moore and April Hillesheim with Sedona Care Communities, your go-to conversation for everything retirement living. I want to welcome our guest today, Tracy. Tracy is our food and beverage manager at Pioneer Elder Care. Tracy brings a unique blend of hospitality and healthcare experience to her role. She began her career in restaurant management, developing a strong foundation in food service, moving from Etobicoke to St. Catharines to help open a new restaurant location, where she also met her husband. She later transitioned into healthcare as a lab technician and extended her experience within the retirement sector, working across dietary, recreation, and administrative roles. Today, Tracy oversees food, ordering and delivering, coordinates seasonal meal planning, and ensures all 4 of our locations are well-stocked and operating efficiently. Her diverse background allows her to approach nutrition and dining with both operational expertise and a resident-centered focus. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. So, Tracy, tell us a bit today. We're going to talk nutrition, routine, and some health outcomes. So, what are some of the unique risks that seniors with dementia face when it comes to nutrition, especially when they're living at home?
Well, there's several risks, including weight loss, malnutrition, dehydration, and there's also safety risks associated with preparing and cooking food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or knowing if the food is good or if it's spoiled.
Expiries and things like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does cognitive decline impact a person's ability to recognize hunger, remember to eat, or even stay focused during a meal?
Well, it affects all those things because they can forget to eat. They might not remember that they already ate. They also might lose the ability to recognize or communicate that they are hungry or thirsty.
Yeah.
So they can be easily distracted as well during a meal by the TV and then totally forget that they were in the middle of eating and then not eat at all.
Exactly. And I mean, with dementia specifically from my experience, somehow the loss of wanting to eat is there.
Yeah.
And having the healthcare team there to prompt them to say, hey, it's time to have lunch. Here's your sandwich, putting a sandwich in their hand or showing them where the fork is or the spoon is or the knife that allows them to, get ready to eat.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've had any experiences specifically, but I mean, for my residents that I know that have dementia, it's interesting because their likes for food seem to change very quickly.
Yeah.
So just when you think you've gotten to know, hey, Joe loves to have roast beef at dinner and has his egg salad sandwiches at lunch.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, they might be not eating at all. And then you have to reapproach and
either they forget or they don't recognize that food.
Yeah.
So, what would you do, if you noticed that the resident wasn't eating what they normally eat? What would be something that you could look at going over with them?
Just introduce them to something different. Sometimes it's just the appearance of the food on the plate.
Yeah.
Maybe it's served differently. They don't recognize it or it doesn't look appealing to them. So you just have to try different foods and, then their likes for the week ahead might change to something totally different. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know we talked a bit about how we can definitely see a nutritional decline and some weight loss, especially when we're dealing with dementia. So why do we often see that in seniors, though, that don't have a structured support like at Pioneer?
Well, they might have difficulty in doing their shopping or their cooking, physically or just cognitively. Being able to go out and do that. So that would be a number one thing. And as I was just saying a moment ago, when they're home alone and they've cooked food, then they look at their plate and think they might be thinking, what is that?
Yeah.
Or not even know how to pick up the utensils to use them.
Yeah.
So, and they can also experience a decline in taste and smell, which makes the food unappealing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then they have a loss of appetite because of that.
Yeah.
So.
And I think with those who don't have a caregiver at home, like before they come to obviously like a Sedona, so Chapel or Pioneer, when they're living at home, and April and I have a ton of experience in community care, there's such a gap there. And I don't think it's the first thing families realize that is cause of concern, right? Like we get hyper-focused on mobility and we get hyper-focused on maybe that they're, forgetting or not remembering, but the nutrition part to all of it is the core of it, right? Like if they're not eating well and they're taking medications, that's a cause for concern. And if, if they're missing meals, it's an energy thing. It's, they're not themselves.
Yeah,
like, there's so many aspects that we don't consider when we look at the big picture of nutrition. So I think that's where that support really comes into place for something like that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, even just an experiences that I've had with residents that have come into the home that have been diagnosed with dementia, families will notice the weight loss. And they're thinking, well, why is my loved one losing weight? What's going on here? When in all reality, the resident has forgotten how to use the stove, doesn't want to ask for help. They don't know what is in the fridge,
and
or
they're
maybe
probably having early signs of malnutrition,
right. Yeah.
Because they haven't been eating.
Right. So it's like that piece of forgetting, about the how to cook the meals is something that we've seen. So at Pioneer, meals are presented to residents, but there's also flexibility built in. So can you walk us through a little bit about how that works with the flexibility in meals?
Yeah, residents, they're all going to have likes and dislikes. And as we learn what they are when they first come to us, then we can offer substitutions either for part of the meal or the whole meal if necessary. As you said, they might have a favorite meal and then a couple of days later, they like, I don't like that. So we always have substitutions available to pop into the meal. Like for instance, if some residents don't like eating soup. So then there's different salads they can choose from. And if they don't like the meal altogether, we can always do a sandwich or vegetables on the side. There's always something that we can do.
And I mean, I'm sure you've reached out to families as well. So if they're the resident living at Pioneer isn't able to let you know what they like, reach out to the loved one to say, hey, what was the familiar food they loved before?
Right.
Sometimes with dementia, you kind of revert back to what you liked years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe something that they loved when they were younger, that meal might spark their interest in eating now. So the loved ones are, I know, a huge help into helping figure out what works for the resident eating.
Yeah.
Very important.
We've kind of already talked about how important offering alternatives is, but if a resident doesn't recognize or connect what's being served, what could we kind of implement to help benefit them or promote independence?
Well, of course, we want to keep them nourished and we want to keep them interested in mealtime and eating.
Right.
So sometimes it's just offering a different vegetable. We're having broccoli. They suddenly hate broccoli or don't recognize broccoli. So we can offer a different vegetable, a lighter option, a sandwich, or a softer option, because sometimes maybe swallowing is starting to be an issue. So you could do scrambled eggs or something like that.
Yeah. And I think the one thing I hear this from families a lot, and I'm sure you do too, is they'll be like, Mom never ate like this before, or Dad never ate like this before. So I think one of the key things too, and I'm sure you see this a lot in dietary, is noting what the resident is doing and noting how they react to meals too, right? Because sometimes, I interview families and I meet them in hospital and they're like, oh, Dad absolutely just loved meatloaf. It was his favorite meal. And then, we served meatloaf one night and it's not touched. They don't want to pick up their fork. They're like, absolutely not. So it's really important because, like you said, their needs change and their likes change. So really like dialing in on those like keynote details to make sure that they're being supported in the environment they live in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know I'll just speak a little about Chapel Heights because food, if anyone knows me, food is life. I live to eat. So food is very important to me. And I really resonate with residents who come into our home and they say that they just want a good meal. That's all they want in the rest of their life. And I say, we're going to be good friends then. So the meals at Chapel, are very very good to the residents. They are always commenting on how good the food is. And I think that, nutrition and food at stages of your retirement living is very important because sometimes that is the only thing that you can really look forward to. Or you've been a food lover like me at a young age. I can imagine myself being very much still loving food when I'm
absolutely.
home. So food is a huge part of everyone's lives, especially retirement living. So what does it look like in practice when staff are supporting residents who have been hesitant, distracted, or unsure during mealtimes?
It looks like the staff sitting with them right at eye level, being very patient to the resident while offering gentle prompting for them to eat, and also sensory cues like, doesn't that soup smell delicious? And in an unrushed environment. And then and limiting distractions as well. Like we can't have the TV on while dinner's going on. Dinner's got to be the focus.
And I love that you said that about in an unrushed environment.
Yeah.
So often you'll see meal times just be rushed for seniors, and everyone goes at their own pace. Everyone might have a different level of how they eat. And I think that recognizing to meet them where they are with not having it be rushed is super important.
It is. Yeah. I've watched the staff with that are actually feeding, residents that can't feed themselves, and they're very patient. They're very focused on them, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah. And when we did CARES training earlier this year, so all of our homes are CARES dementia trained. One of the things that they go over is the feeding. And it's funny because when you watch these experiences and you kind of get to learn that they have like the video prompts and all those things that you get to watch. So one of the things that we learned from that course is that when the resident is feeling hurried, even to like a mealtime, if it's not the actual action of eating, sometimes the routine prior them sitting down for a meal can really make or break the success of them getting a nourishing meal at that time, right? So it walks through a video where there's an older woman that's walking down the hall, and she wants to stop and get her napkin and get her fork before she sits down at that table. Because it provides that independence, that sense of independence, right? Like that's her routine.
Right.
And then they show the opposite video where they're rushing her to the dining room and they're sitting her down and she's getting physically upset, right? Because she didn't get to follow her natural routine of coming to the dining room, right? Like if you lived at home, you'd grab your utensils in the kitchen and you'd grab your napkin, you'd get yourself all settled. And so it really does make the difference to be patient and take that time with them.
Awesome. So we have a question that we're going to be asking all the team members that work within the property. So we will finish today off with asking you this question.
Sure.
And the question is, what fulfills you most about your job?
Seeing everybody happy and working together, the staff preparing the meals, the residents when they're sitting down to eat. It really is a home-like environment. Where we are at Pioneer, because it's smaller and just seeing everybody engage in everything.
Awesome. Yeah, amazing. We are like family. So
nice
to say that and notice. So I want to thank everybody today for listening, and then the conversation with Tracy. Thank you for being on here.
Thank you.
And I just want to pose the question to anyone listening. If you are, noticing that you're losing weight, or a loved one's noticing that their loved one has lost some weight, it might be time to have the conversation to look at what the next steps are. There will be a link in the link below to our properties. Come out to Chapel Heights, come see what it's like to have a meal with us, taste the food, have the conversation about what retirement home living could look like for you. And thank you so much for listening.